lovely talk, how UX is solving the Web3 problems. Actually, I was worried about the onboarding, but yeah. Next up, I feel it's a very interesting topic because we all know how like the evolution of money and how it got value within like with time. We have like how Bitcoin gets its value by Ishita and Kevin. Yep.
Hi guys, how's everyone doing?
Yeah.
All good? Yeah. I think we can just do names because we're just like 5 people at this point.
Yeah.
So what are your names?
Rishikesh.
Rishikesh? Pranav?
Mohind.
Mohin?
Mohind.
Mohind.
Yeah. Rado.
Rado?
Kathy.
Yusuf. Doxy. That's my real name, I'm Yusuf.
Sanjana, aka Ishita.
And your real name? Gokul. Okay, thanks Gokul. Okay.
Go the last line.
Oh, that's Adi.
Oh, this.
Hi Adi. Oh, there's one more guy here.
Yeah.
Man in a suit.
Man of the suit.
Yeah, hello.
Manish Pandit.
Manish, Fedil.
Yes.
Yash.
Yes.
Nice.
I'm
Awesome.
Yours.
Beautiful.
Do you guys want to
Subhash.
Subhash?
Sanjeev.
Sanjeev. Sanjeev ji, make sure I'm in.
Welcome to the club.
And so you are? Ravi.
Hello,
Big
Ravi.
shout out to
Yeah.
Thank you so much guys for signing this up for us.
आप भी बोलो. हाँ?
Hi, Karthik.
Karthik.
Thanks for all the water. Karthik.
Yeah.
और कोई मिसिंग तो नहीं है ना?
नहीं भाई.
Right.
Yeah, very good. Okay, the topic is very, very simple, okay? It's going to be on the first ever crypto that to exist, right? Bitcoin and why it gets its value. So, I am going to start off with my opinion and then I'm going to let her take over. Bitcoin is worthless.
Here we go.
Well, say this room is the entire world, right? I think Bitcoin's value depends on how much we all believe in it.
It's very simple, right? Warren Buffett has a very famous quote. It's a long quote, but I'll shorten it for you guys. He says people spend their whole time digging up gold from outside the ground, melting it into bars, shoving it back in the ground, and having 100 people guard it. He's basically talking about the treasury and reserve and things like that. Now, if you think about it, what is gold's real utility? What is its intrinsic value? Gold means you guys are comfortable with Hindi, Tamil, English. What do you guys all speak? English is fine, right?
Yeah, I think English is fine.
Gold gets its value from what? From us, especially us as Indians, giving it its value. Yeah, mere ko sona pehna hai, bro. I want to wear this gold, this. Other than that, it gets used in marginally in electronics, but other than that, its value is close to nil, right? And we call Bitcoin digital gold. So we all know this, right? Bitcoin is digital gold. And what does that digital gold get its value from? These are very simple things. This is why I think Bitcoin is worthless, right? Exactly. You take your US dollar. At the top of the US dollar, it says, "In God we trust." If Bitcoin had a note, it would probably say, "In community we trust." Because if that didn't exist, Bitcoin doesn't exist. Why does Bitcoin exist? Now that is the real question. It goes back to the late 2000s, when the world was entering a recession and people started losing faith in the government. So although in God they trusted, they didn't trust the government which was printing those notes which said "In God we trust." So to tackle that, we have Satoshi, a group of people, or maybe one super genius man who probably went out and created this entire financial system, probably sitting in his mom's basement or something like that, right? I mean, that's where all great ideas come from, don't you think?
Mom's basement.
Mom's basement. So that is where we are in the late 2000s. And today, if we think, we have an entire conference on the other side of the world just dedicated to Web3, which was spawned about by one man sitting in his mom's basement. So that's where you get the value from. From each person from 2008 onwards who believed that maybe not Satoshi's mom, but Satoshi's friends, and then the other guys, and then the guys who spent 2,000 bitcoins, and then the guys who lost 100,000 bitcoins, and like we know people, right, who lost a shit ton of money. So this is where its value gets derived from. Very simple terms, it is a unit of exchange. People, it's backed by people. It's a people-backed asset. That's what I would call Bitcoin. Because I give you a Bitcoin, you're ready to give me something. You're ready to sell me this pen for maybe 0.0001 Bitcoin, right? And Why is that? That's because you and I both give it the value. In the same way, nice one, sir.
Ooh.
Nice.
Ooh.
Your UX designer, right? What do you think about that?
Good stuff. Huh?
It's awesome.
Thank you.
So I don't want to bore you guys with this speech, but
Yeah, I got a little bored, so I'm gonna take over.
Whoa.
Funny you mentioned about gold and the comparison, right? Because that's the most popular comparison out there. Any YouTube video you go to, that comparison comes about. So I'm gonna steal a fact from there and say, if you take the value of all the gold mined out there, it's about $7.5 trillion, which is a lot of money if you think about it for a piece of metal at the end of the day, right? Similarly, a lot of people talk about Bitcoin and its potential. Do any of you know what's Bitcoin's rate today?
28,000, 24,000 USD.
Correct, approximately 23 point something. That's about 19 lakhs-ish. But do you remember when it peaked last year, how much it went up to? Right?
nice.
So it's crazy how this world works. Just like that, our time slot also decreased from 60 minutes to 10 minutes. So you never know how volatile the world is.
The more volatile, you have more value.
Right? So 10 minutes as speech is more like important. Like you keep attention. Anyway, so Yusuf, what do you think? Do you think Bitcoin will ever like go out of fashion, or do you think there's any other cryptocurrency that can go, which can overtake Bitcoin?
Good question. I think Bitcoin as a currency lays the foundation, right? It is why crypto is what it is today. It is what gold is to the unit of exchange, is what Bitcoin is to the world. So I don't think it will go out of fashion because the essential or the intended purpose of Bitcoin was to be a digital gold and a reserve of currency. It's a hedge against inflation. Today your dollar or your rupee for that matter, let's say 100 rupees, will not have the same buying power in 1,000 months or another 100 years from now, right? So why do we care about that? Because when Bitcoin is created as a supply, it's capped with a 21 million supply. So we know that this money cannot keep printing on forever and ever and ever. We know a lot of countries who just keep printing money and their economies go to shit, right? You have Venezuela, which is a great example of this. You have Zimbabwe, where $1 trillion can buy you a loaf of bread or something like that, right? I don't know about India, what do you think?
I think they're pretty strong economy.
India is pretty strong economy, so we don't need to worry in that sense.
Because all the gold is all the women
So
have. So even if it fails, you know.
In that sense, I don't think Bitcoin will fail because Bitcoin's intended purpose is not to function like a general purpose blockchain that we have, like an EVM, an Ethereum virtual machine. You guys all know Ethereum, right? Ethereum's intended purpose is to deploy smart contracts and to have dApps function and work over it, whereas Bitcoin's is just and solely to be a store of value. Bitcoin maxis, as we call them, right? Bitcoin maximalists. People who believe only in Bitcoin are the kind of people who believe that even if my government goes to shit, even if my country goes to shit, I can escape from here. I can keep my 10 Bitcoins in my wallet and then liquidate it anywhere in the world, right?
Right, to summarize, it's not centralized backed by any banks or any central agencies, because of which it does not get affected by things like inflation rates or other things like that. It gets
Governments
affected
telling us tomorrow
Or
that your
politicians.
notes are invalid.
by, yeah.
Do you know that anybody who did that? I can't think of any names. Like, you know, somebody says your notes are not valid, fuck off from here.
Yeah, about like 6 years ago.
6 years
Years
ago.
ago, wow.
But so nobody's ever going to be able to say that for Bitcoin. And why? Because Bitcoin is not backed by a government. Bitcoin is not backed by one entity. Bitcoin is backed by the Satoshi or a Nakamoto consensus.
Who's also anonymous, by the way. So,
Really?
like,
I know it. Oh, you guys don't know him?
are you a Satoshi?
I don't know really this one because
Anyway, so see, unlike say an Elon Musk or somebody else who comes and says whatever things out in the media, and that would affect the company's value, right? That does not happen with Bitcoin because it does not have a face, and it's very smart of them to keep it anonymous like that.
Satoshi, yeah?
Oh, it is good.
Hey.
Are you gonna take it? Yeah, nothing important happening. Please go ahead and take it.
sorry, Satoshi. Yeah, I mean, Not supposed to reveal. Sorry guys, this part of the speech never happened. Back to you. Sir, editing में cut कर दो.
Okay, any questions? You guys ask us
Wait,
something.
what were we talking about?
We're talking about things that affect the value of Bitcoin.
Will it go
Oh,
down?
speaking of, you all know how blocks are mined and how all of that happens. Do one of you want to explain it? What do you think happens there?
They break out cryptographic code
Yes.
using some nonce or something, and then they kind of move it to a block which has a limit of MB or 10 MB. For different blockchains, they have
So basically, they solve like heavy code for block rewards. This is called mining. And in Bitcoin, there's a limit on how much you can mine, or at least they've slowed down the rate so that everybody can't just correct. So they can't come and exhaust the source all at once, right? So only 21 million, like Yusuf said, and this will be done over a span of time. So maybe in this much span, you can mine only this much. This way, they make sure there's going to be at least enough supply before the 21 million gets exhausted.
And the last
Can you say
next section. 2148 will be like all the Bitcoin.
You think we'll be alive next century?
I'm not sure, but I'll find it out to my children.
Do you guys follow Vitalik?
If I have something which is bad with me.
Do you follow Vitalik? Apart from
Do you
Vitalik?
know who Vitalik is?
Oh yeah, I found out everything.
Apart from,
He's called the prince of cryptocurrency.
because the king is obviously my friend.
Satoshi. Who's the queen now?
Apart from,
By the prince.
Huh?
By the prince.
because he's the second coming, right?
Yeah.
He's the second in line to the throne of
This
crypto.
Ethereum, he founded
Oh,
Ethereum.
okay.
Yeah.
So, what were we talking about?
You brought up Vitalik. We're talking about
Vitalik.
Bitcoin, but
So apart from Vitalik's obsession with crypto, do you guys know why Vitalik started Ethereum?
Just because he wanted to go. He was playing World of Warcraft, I think he lost all his.
Exactly. So Ethereum started because a kid in his mom's basement got his gamer ID stolen. And because that happened, he went on to create the world's most powerful decentralized computer. So I think you guys should spend a lot more time in your mom's basement. That'll help you guys a lot. And Vitalik's other obsession, apart from crypto, is life extension. If you hear him speak, this is his second most researched and heavily contributed to topic. So maybe we might be around if the man has given us Ethereum, he might give us life extension as well. Who knows?
he looks like he's on his second life.
It has a little bit alien vibes.
Same.
So it's very simple, guys. Bitcoin, what is its value, right? The same way, how do diamonds get its value? Diamonds aren't worth shit. They're rocks that we dig
They're
out
not
of the
even
earth.
scarce. There's plenty for everyone.
So diamonds is just, it is, the artificial scarcity has been implemented for days on end now by the De Beers. It's the world's first diamond retailer and like wholesaler. They're a big entity. So in the same vein, Bitcoin doesn't aim to be that. It aims to break out from there, but it's taking on the principles where you, me, you, all of us sitting here are the ones giving Bitcoin its value, right? And then same goes for other cryptos, but apart from that, they also are functional. They let you do things. Ethereum lets you build protocols. Ethereum lets you build prediction markets. Ethereum lets you build apps. You can build certain applications which now you can own the data of. So that's where those things derive its value from. But since this convo is about Bitcoin, I think that's what we're talking about. I think that's pretty solid.
Yeah. I think one point which we missed is, of course, this is very obvious. If people hold more Bitcoin and don't sell it, its value obviously goes up as they keep buying. Supply and demand. So if they sell more, obviously the value drops. I'm just being very textbooky. Value go on. But I think those are the things that depend.
I also think the opposite is also true at the same time.
What do you mean?
If, for example, the person who didn't spend his 2,000 bitcoins to get the pizza, right now we look back and think, fuck bro, if this guy had kept his 2,000 bitcoins, he'd be a multi-trillionaire, whatever, right?
You know, there are pizza parties done all over the world on that day when he.
Exactly, Bitcoin makes
Yeah.
that.
You know.
But the fact of the matter remains that if that man had not made that transaction, he would not have given it that value. So by using it and by spending it is also where we derive value from it.
I agree.
It was the first transaction in Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
First commodity.
Yeah, commodity.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yes, this was the first time.
And imagine if that didn't happen, Bitcoin wouldn't get its value, right? If we had just hoarded it, who would be trading it with us? Nobody would care enough, right? So I think it's a fine mix of both.
So I'm saying as mass adoption happens, the value also should.
The value of a currency lies in its ability to be traded and to buy things, right? So if you take a look at the US, and I urge all of you to go home back today because I don't want to put it up on screen, but the US Treasury government website has a page that says legal tender status. Yeah, it talks about dollars not being backed by anything. You'll ask me, whoa, what is that all about? Hi guys.
Hi.
Do you want to come to the front?
Yes.
Yeah, join us at the front.
GM.
GM to everyone.
Morning.
So to get you up to speed, we're talking about Bitcoin
And why it's worthless. It is, right? Do you guys think Bitcoin is worthless?
Let's find out.
Let's find out. You've come
Here we go.
2 minutes before we wrap up,
Oh.
so
When do we wrap up, Farid?
We have
it's supposed to be a 1 hour, and then you said 10 minutes. So I'm like,
On the paper is this and
Till what?
It's 10 minutes, right?
You have time now, like 15 minutes.
Who's the next speaker?
So, builders.
Builder. Builder style.
They're not here.
Okay, I think we can talk about
Yes, come in
it.
front, come in front.
Bro, builder or builder style?
Builders talk.
Carla.
I mean, until they come, we can talk.
Builder.
Oh, so you want to know about us?
You already follow up.
So you see that website there? That's ours. Okay,
Click
so,
on it. So we're basically a venture studio. We incubate and bet on early and idea stage teams and products. We help them build out their MVPs, we help them with funding. We are core believers in what the distributed ledger technology can bring to us. And we place our bets on anything DLT or blockchain based. And we help bigger brands. We red pill them. Basically, when we say red pilling or orange pilling, where so you know how in Matrix you have the blue pill and the red pill that's given to you. So in Web3 we allude to the red pill when you take the red pill as like giving yourself up to crypto and giving yourself into like this ecosystem.
this world.
I think a part of us, some of us have already taken a part of the red pill, which is why we're sitting here today. So we help other companies bite the red pill. That's what we do.
In simpler words, we also build for other companies. So, say IPO holders, or you come with a business idea, but you don't know the blockchain technical know-how, you can come to us and we will be your tech side while you handle your business side and go about with your marketing and strategies.
I have
so
a doubt.
go on.
So you bet.
But we didn't open the floor for questions.
No, this is supposed to be an interactive
It's
session.
open now.
I'm kidding, now it's open.
It's open now.
Yeah, go for it.
So you bet more on the people or the product? Like what's the balance?
Very good question. So what do you, it's also, in other words, what do you build first, community or product, right? I've heard so many people talk about it. Do you want to go?
So in crypto, we have this concept. It's not called minimum viable product. It's called minimum viable community. Because the belief is that if your community can rally around and foster around you even in tough times, it can take your product from a 0 to a 1. The idea for founders and for people who start products is to solve challenges for people, right? And if you don't have a community to talk to, who's not hanging around in your Discord, who's not DMing you every day, who are you solving for? What are the, I don't know if anybody of you is here trying to build their own product or is working in a product, but as community and as founders of products, it becomes a responsibility to interact with each other. And this is what Web3 democratizes, right? You will find the CEO of fucking some big protocol hanging out in his Discord, talking to his people every day, just so that he can find out what are the problems and what are the challenges, right? I can't today go to a distillery and be like, distillery sa pani mein jata. Like I can't do that, right? It's not that simple. That is what Web3 is changing, step by step, and I would say block by block for a lot of founders, communities, and people trying to build.
And to instantiate this, substantiate this. So to substantiate this, I was talking to a founder who dropped an NFT collection peak of bear market, and guess what? It did really well. So when I went back to him, I'm like, how did you do it? Or why did you even drop it in the bear market? Because not many people are buying, right? And he said, power of community. He said, I believe in the people who believe in the product I'm going to do. And surprisingly, it did really well. And even if some products are really kick-ass, best UI UX, best customer experience with
She does the best UI UX.
Yeah.
Shout out to
You have to
Kathy.
show
Yeah.
seen me the UX. I just,
We believe in it.
talked about
You
it.
guys want to come in front of those of you sitting in the back. I think you're getting left out of the convo. You guys. Very good.
I was checking if there's someone else behind.
Nobody is there in this convo. Chill out,
No,
brother.
we want to learn from you as well, which is like
Yes,
we want you to come in
by the way, we're all friends. We've introduced ourselves and names to each other. Let's do their names
Yeah.
also now. I guess we
Right.
should feel left out. This is all about community. Let's start with you, bro.
I'm Adarsh from DreamDAO. Adarsh.
Adarsh.
Yeah.
Rajat from Dream Down.
Cream Down.
Dream.
Dream.
Dream Down. All right.
I'm Sean from Dream Down.
From Dream Down. Dream Down.
I
Don't
thought
tell me you're from Dream Down, bro.
No, bro.
How do you join your company? I'm Abhishek, I'm from AIC GIM team. That's the
Nice.
Yeah.
stand, yes.
Woo, sponsor.
Thank you.
I'm Nikita from AIC.
Again, I don't know.
Hi, I'm Viraj from Good Ghosting.
From?
Good Ghosting.
Good ghosting.
Yeah, it's a TFAP.
Good
Good
ghosting.
ghosting.
Yeah.
So you ghost your people.
Good Ghosting, yeah.
Oh, you're a good ghoster.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Piyush. I'm from Meta Arrow. Meta Arrow.
Meta Arrow.
Yeah, I'm part.
You're also Piyush from Meta Arrow.
I am part from Meta and
Part from Meta.
we are building a hyper-realistic metaverse for the companies right now, and it's a white label solution in that thing.
Hyper realistic. Have you heard of this new thing called actual reality?
Actual reality glasses.
You can
Have
do
you
it
seen
on
those?
touch things.
So I've seen a glass where it's only the frame, there is no lens. And then the person is like, actual reality, and I'm like,
So the convo till date, I'll just get you guys up to speed because you guys missed the convo. What is Bitcoin and where does it derive its value from? What is its intrinsic value, right? And the thought process and the ideas that we exchanged. This is not a speech, it's a conversation that we're doing, right? Is Bitcoin derives its value from people or community, right? It is not an asset-backed commodity. It's a people-backed asset or a people-backed commodity. And in simple terms, if I was to not trade it with you, it wouldn't have its value. And you and I give it its value. Hi. Introduce yourself, please.
Okay, I'm Sean.
Sean, another Sean. Nice. Dreamed up.
Sorry.
Where are you from?
From Kerala.
Nice. Kerala is a which protocol? What is it building on?
Right now I'm with Swap Bitsa.
Swap pizza.
Bitsa.
Stop this one. Nice.
Not a protocol, but yeah.
Kidding. I know Kerala. It's a state, right?
Where you from?
Kerala.
Not Leonia, bro.
Kochi.
Kochi.
I'm from Kerala.
You're from Kerala.
Yeah.
We have Kerala now. Actually, we
She's
have
in a Maluda.
Madras
Oh,
down.
Madras down.
Oh, heavy.
But
Okay, anyway, so we were talking about community versus product. So if the product is kick-ass and it doesn't have a community of believers, people who are even going to consume it when it's up in the market, it's going to fail, right? And then you should invest on building your community and things like that. Secondly, if you believe in your idea strong enough and you start advocating it and start building a community while you're doing the work in the workshop and also building your product, and in phase by phase, keep updating your community, ask them for inputs, right? Because they are going to be the consumers in the future. Who are you building for otherwise? So the more you involve them in your decision making or the more you involve them in the product you're building for them, I think your product will succeed. There's one more thing which I want to highlight, which a lot of people are doing is, they're going to celebrities and ask, because they have millions of followers on Instagram and things like that, right? They think that is the actual community, which is not. Did you point at Prado?
Prado, stand up, please.
What are you talking about?
Go follow Prado logo on Twitter.
Hello.
You follow it? Anybody knows Prado logo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I paid.
You paid us also, no? In Bitcoins, guys. Did you?
I'm an intern at Meta.
What's your name? Saurabh.
Builder.
Bildo's tribe.
Oh, yeah.
Builder.
Bildor.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, anyway, so the point I was trying to make is, just because celebrities and influencers have millions of followers doesn't mean just placing a product there will work. We've seen a lot of celebrities in movie, NFTs for that matter, just plummet. It was terrible. And in fact, the name of the celebrity got spoiled because of doing something like this. So the crypto consumers, the crypto community is very different from like the entertainment, the mass media community. So mistake is very common. A lot of people, in fact, IP holders we work with, just blindly are doing it for the PR and for the marketing it brings along. So you should understand what we are building and who we are building it for. Hear the people, your consumers, because that's how your product will succeed.
But what if it's a mass?
So even if it is a mass crowd, say NFTs, right?
These NFT thing became viral because of some actor or actress posted using NFT or
Okay, give me an example of an actor from India whose NFT succeeded. And you think that all the NFTs got sold out and they're doing very well in the secondary market?
Not really, but they prefer to hold it.
Why?
Because they believe in Kamala.
What are the utilities the movie Vikram?
That brings
Okay,
up.
we're going to talk about NFTs now. So what is NFTs and why is it even valuable?
See, NFT is a non-fungible token which cannot be replaced or something. This has the ownership rights.
Correct.
But when it comes to collectibles and things, I don't think that this value for 100 years from now doesn't make sense. Because you have the.
Do you not think utilities is an important factor to consider while buying the NFT?
See, that's what utility comes in different aspects, right?
Okay, collectible, right? Are you asking about why collectible has a value?
That's what its value is not determined in a short span of time.
So I think that brings us to a circle when you said why does Bitcoin get its value, right? Because the community of Kamal Hassan believes is the belief, right?
Yeah.
They dream that Kamal Hassan is that what does dream now do? I just want to know by the way.
Let's go, Sean.
Yeah, for sure.
It's designed to shine.
So DreamDAO is basically a collective that is centered on finance, where we're really focused on onboarding the next generation of individuals into Web3, mostly focused through social impact projects, right? So we work closely with Gitcoin. I'm sure you guys are aware of Gitcoin.
Yes.
And also like other foundations like the Foundation, Year Foundation. Yeah, just basically to onboard these guys and anybody else who's interested in Web3 because the next generation are going to be the ones who actually really leverage the technology. So,
yes. So, but bringing us back to collectibles or value, it's a Kamal Hassan backed. No, it's not a Kamal Hassan backed. It's a Kamal Hassan's community backed collectible, right? Tomorrow, when all these guys grow old and die, I think they can still hold the same value for Kamal Hassan's NFTs.
You can't be determined in that aspect.
Let's say I have Pokemon trading cards, right? Okay, forget that. My dad has a shit ton of postage stamps at home, okay? He's a philatelic collector or a numismatic. He has like 3 books of coins, 3 books of stamps. He's given that to me. He's like, dude, you want to check it out? And he auctions that off at like auction houses. Some of them have even gone to Sotheby's and things like that. But if I look at it, dude, I've never been used a postage stamp. Like why do I care about that? I don't know if you guys agree with me or disagree with me. What are your thoughts?
I mean,
So,
maybe
The only
a good example is Don Bradman. There are a lot of fans still in our generation. We have fans for Don Bradman.
our generation, I'm the next generation. I don't know Don Bradman. I'm kidding. I do know who it is, but I've not seen him play.
That's okay. It becomes case to case. Kamal Hassan's fans might not be available across the world, but in South India at least there are a lot. And there will be value. That's what my feeling is.
Correct.
are you also holding a Bitcoin?
No, I'm fan of Kamal.
I love Kamal too.
I have like talking about NFTs. If we see on the broader perspective, it's helping like transition people to auction. So if we
Absolutely.
I agree. That's one of the upside of doing entertainment NFTs.
Now, who can come and they say everything, but you don't know the purpose. But that's how you reach out mass people at Shasma.
So,
I agree. But
so basically how I feel the utility of NFTs are getting derived is once it gets involved in the digital economy, and that is through the metaverse. So since we are building the metaverse, we completely study that right now, and where we see how digital collectibles are going to be really useful or beneficial is when you're going to buy minting an NFT, and then you can use that in a metaverse and it's interoperable. And so if you guys have played like games like Fortnite, there are these collectibles and you gotta like have these skins and stuff. Why are people actually doing that? It's one of the craze is the belief and stuff. So once we have a strong community, like you were saying, and then we have a strong understanding of how it's gonna like interop between different metaverses and we connect it all, it's gonna become a digital economy. That's the whole idea of the utility behind NFTs is. And you can always talk about anything. It could be about music, it could be about entertainment, it could be about games. The NFT value is like we're just exploring or discovering new attributes of it, I would say.
There are definitely a lot of positive feedbacks and things that you can take away from entertainment industry adapting this, right? Mass adoption being number one. But the point I was trying to make is taking a product and just plugging it, and tomorrow if Vikram comes and tries to sell my product, it might not work because that's not the consumer, that's not my community. The point I was trying to make is the community for your product should be believing in the product you're building, and you should hear their voice out while you're building. But like he said, the more adoption happens, the more widespread, the more value of whatever we're doing goes up. And I'm sure everyone here would agree on that.
How many of you would buy a Vikram verse NFT?
I don't think they know what it is. See, okay, but you tried? You didn't get it? Because it was sold out.
That is, I don't think. There's a lot of politics that goes on behind
Off
the
camera,
scenes
you
as
can
well.
come and talk to us and we'll spin some of the
So,
names.
I'm not talking about Kamal Hassan here. He's a great actor with a great NFT collection.
Do you want to bring vocal into the conversation?
I don't know why I'm really talking to the camera. In TV when you have to plausible deniability. But the idea is, even in India, in a lot of countries where projects are still developing, not countries, sorry, across crypto, you have a shit ton of, and a lot of people might not like hearing this, there's a shit ton of wash trading, there's a shit ton of artificial scarcity that goes on. People, we know projects that have done it in India and have got the tag of being successful NFT collections, right? I'm not going to name them here, but later if you want I can come, I can tarnish these people's reputation. But these guys have gone and they've just paid 50 different actors just to go bid their prices above and above and above, and then in the news you'll see them one day, famous actors, NFT collection sold for 2 crores and shit like that, right? Which is, you have to think about it, dude. What are you getting? It's not even a rug pull, it's like a preconceived fraud activity that's been going on.
I'm sorry.
Oh, by the way, my name is Yusuf.
Oh, will this type people are here?
Yeah.
Oh,
Why don't we come here for 5 minutes? We'll talk. So pull up this chair. We leave in 2 minutes. We'll just get a third person's perspective.
What you gonna talk about?
So what we are currently building is engagement sorts of tool. So it's basically sorting user onboarding for apps with the help of a narrative called Engage to Earn.
Engage to Earn.
So
what's the most absurd to earn?
Dash to earn you guys have got.
Eat to earn.
Eat?
Bro, pray to earn. It's actually a thing.
Pray to earn?
Yes.
Sleep to earn.
Sleep
Sleep
to
to
earn.
earn. Yes, sleep to earn.
How sound your sleep is gives you more
Rewards.
rewards?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Have you guys heard of sex to earn?
Yeah.
Bro, that's just prostitution.
There's a
We're all friends at this
dance
point.
to
Yeah.
We can address our friends. He's another friend now. Bildor. Do you want us to leave you?
I think you're making one
It's up to you, man.
That is the leave.
See, if you don't explicitly ask us to leave, we will never leave. Anyway, it was really nice talking to you guys. But do you have any questions or do you want to discuss about any topics before we open the floor to Mr. Bildor? I see you.
I see you. I mean, there's a lot of regulatory grey area that kicks in.
No, not about that regulatory part. That comes with people.
Okay, a larger, when you're trying to pull off an ICO, you're not just trying to target a very niche segment. People who do pull off successful ICOs products get built out in bear markets and long-lasting products get built out in bear markets. Again, community, right? If you're able to foster enough of a community that will be able to rally your initial push at least, is when you should even think about getting close to an IPO. And I'm not saying do an ICO. I'm not an advice. This is not financial advice in any sense whatsoever. But bear markets do hurt people. People do bleed. A lot of people exit the ecosystem during a bear market. In a bull market, you have a lot of eyes, Web3, non-Web3, my grandmom, my grandmom's cousin brother, all looking at an asset. If it goes up 100x, 1000x, you'll have a lot of eyeballs on it. So in that sense, it's inevitable that the cycle is bull and bear. But I don't think a bear should specifically be when you try and...
Also, it again depends on if you are ready to go. And it shouldn't be on other external factors. I mean, sure to consider, but how ready is your product or how ready is your company? And also, if your believers who are going to be the stakeholders tomorrow, if they're interested. So I think that takes a precedence over bear market to bull market. Anyway, they will quite literally push us out if we don't go.
So I think the Bitcoin and Ethereum, like how we have now, I think they are kind of similar to gold and silver.
Ethereum means silver than Bitcoin.
Yes, because we don't have any like real use of gold, but we have much like greater uses of silver. But still the silver value is lesser, and it has always been lesser. So what do you think?
It's a greater strategy.
Yeah. Is there a statement you have questions?
No, like.
I think it's a good analogy.
I think I'm going to use it in my next talk.
So, I have one question. How do you think we're going to balance out? They say it's going to become a digital currency for all nations and stuff.
Bitcoin?
Yeah. But you know, a currency needs to have stable value. But I don't see that.
Anisha have stuck around for the first 20 minutes of our conversation. We'll talk later. Let's take a pause.